At my dad's 50th birthday party, my mom pulled me aside and whispered, "Stay in the back. The important people are arriving." I nodded without saying anything and quietly moved to the corner of the hall. What happened just 30 minutes later left my entire family in shock. Is there anyone in your life that you wish you could get revenge on? Tell me in the comments who that person is and what they did. I'd really like to know your story. And please don't forget to like and subscribe so I can continue bringing you these stories. Your support helps me keep creating and sharing new content for you. My name is Sophia Reed, and this is the story of how my own family tried to hide me at my dad's party until one VIP guest asked for me by name. I was 26 years old and had always been treated differently in my family. My younger brother, Ethan, was the favorite. He was outgoing, confident, and worked in my father's company. I, on the other hand, was quiet and had chosen a different path. I worked as a senior researcher in a pharmaceutical company and rarely attended family events. My parents, especially my mother, Catherine, always felt embarrassed by my serious personality. They believed I didn't know how to socialize or impress important people. So whenever there was a big family function or party, they would either keep me busy in the kitchen or ask me to stay in the background. On the night of my dad's 50th birthday, the house was filled with important guests, business partners, politicians, and influential people from the city. My mother was running around making sure everything was perfect. Around 8:30 p.m., she came to me while I was helping with the arrangements and said in a low voice, "Sophia, stay in the back. The important people are arriving. We don't want them asking too many questions about you." I looked at her for a second, then simply nodded. "Okay," I replied. I moved to the side of the hall and stood near the dessert table, away from the main crowd. I wasn't angry. I had become used to this treatment over the years. My parents always made me feel like I was the odd one out in the family. For the next 20 minutes, I stayed in the corner, watching everyone. My brother Ethan was busy impressing the guests, my father was laughing loudly with his business partners, and my mother was playing the perfect hostess. Then, at around 9 p.m., something happened. A tall, well-dressed man in his early 60s walked into the hall with two bodyguards behind him. The entire atmosphere in the room shifted. People started whispering and moving aside to make way for him. Even my father quickly adjusted his suit and walked forward to greet him. It was Mr. Richard Harrington, one of the most powerful businessmen in the city and a close associate of my late grandfather. My father shook his hand and started talking to him with a big smile. But after a few minutes, Mr. Harrington looked around the hall and asked in a clear voice, "Victor, where is she?" My father froze. Mr. Harrington continued, "I came here especially to meet her. Where is Sophia?" The entire hall went quiet. My father's face turned completely white. He looked around nervously and stammered, Who, sir?" Mr. Harrington frowned slightly and said, "Your daughter, Sophia. I was told she would be here tonight." My mother, who was standing nearby, also turned pale. My brother Ethan looked confused. The guests started murmuring amongst themselves. And I was still standing quietly in the corner, watching everything. That's when my father's eyes finally landed on me.
The entire hall went silent the moment Mr. Richard Harrington asked, "Where is she?" My father stood frozen in the middle of the room. His face had turned completely white, and he looked like he had seen a ghost. My mother, who was standing a few steps behind him, also looked shocked. She quickly tried to compose herself and forced a smile. "Mr. Harrington," my father said with a nervous laugh, "you must be tired from your journey. Please come inside. Let's have a drink first." But Mr. Harrington didn't move. He looked around the hall once more and asked again, this time a little louder, "I asked where Sophia is. I was told she would be here tonight." My mother stepped forward quickly and said with a fake polite smile, "Oh, she's helping in the kitchen right now. She's a bit shy around big crowds. I'll go call her." She turned around and started walking toward the back of the hall, probably hoping to find me and drag me somewhere out of sight. But she stopped dead in her tracks when she saw me already standing there, just a few meters away from the main crowd. I had stepped forward from the corner where she had told me to stay. Mr. Harrington's eyes landed on me. For a moment, his serious expression softened. He looked at me carefully, as if trying to confirm something. Then a small smile appeared on his face. "You must be Sophia," he said. I nodded politely. "Yes, sir. I'm Sophia Reed." He took a few steps toward me and extended his hand. "It's a pleasure to finally meet you. I'm Richard Harrington." I shook his hand. "It's nice to meet you too, sir." My father quickly tried to take control of the situation. He walked over and stood between us. "Mr. Harrington, please come this way. We have arranged a special seating area for you. Sophia can join us later. She's not very comfortable in these kinds of gatherings." Mr. Harrington ignored my father completely and kept looking at me. "I knew your grandfather very well," he said. "He was a good man, one of the most honest people I've ever met. Before he passed away, he spoke about you many times." My father's face went even paler. Mr. Harrington continued, "He told me that if anything ever happened to him, I should look after you. He was very fond of you." The entire hall was now watching us. People had stopped talking and were openly staring. My mother looked like she wanted the ground to swallow her. My brother was standing at the side with his mouth slightly open. I stayed calm and replied, "Thank you, sir. That means a lot to me." Mr. Harrington then turned to my father and said in a firm voice, "Victor, I came here tonight specifically to meet your daughter. I didn't come for the party. I came because I made a promise to her grandfather, and I always keep my promises." My father's face turned red with embarrassment. Mr. Harrington then looked directly at me and said, "Sophia, I would like to speak with you privately. Is that possible?" Before I could answer, my father quickly said, "There's no need for that, Mr. Harrington. Whatever you want to discuss, you can say it here. We're all family." Mr. Harrington looked at my father for a few seconds, then gave a small, cold smile. "Some things are better discussed privately, especially when they concern a person's future and inheritance." The word inheritance hit the room like a bomb. My father's expression changed completely. My mother's hand tightened around her clutch. Even my brother looked worried now. Mr. Harrington turned back to me. "Would you mind stepping aside with me for a few minutes, Sophia?" I nodded. "Of course." As I started walking with Mr. Harrington toward a quieter corner of the hall, I could feel my father's eyes burning into my back. My mother looked like she was about to faint. Just before we moved too far, Mr. Harrington stopped and turned around one last time. He looked directly at my father and said in a clear voice that many people could hear, "Victor, I hope you haven't been making any decisions about Sophia's future without her knowledge, because that would be unfortunate." My father didn't say anything. He just stood there, completely frozen. That was the moment I realized this party was no longer just about my dad's birthday. It had become something much bigger. Mr. Harrington and I walked to a quieter corner of the hall, away from the crowd. My father tried to follow us, but one look from Mr. Harrington made him stop in his tracks. We sat down at a small table near the window. Mr. Harrington looked at me with a calm but serious expression. "Sophia," he said, "I didn't come here tonight just to attend your father's birthday party. I came because I made a promise to your grandfather before he died." I stayed quiet and let him continue. "Your grandfather was not just my business partner. He was my closest friend. A few months before he passed away, he called me to his house. He told me that he was worried about you. He said your father and stepmother were trying to control you and that they might try to take advantage of you after his death." I felt a lump in my throat but didn't interrupt. Mr. Harrington continued. "He asked me to keep an eye on you from a distance. He also made some changes to his will in the final months. He transferred a large portion of his shares and one of his most valuable properties directly into your name, but he kept it hidden from your father. He wanted to protect you." I was stunned. "So, the inheritance I received from him wasn't everything?" I asked. Mr. Harrington shook his head. "No, there is more, much more. Your grandfather left you another property and a significant amount of shares that were never mentioned in the original will. He kept them separate because he didn't trust your father. He asked me to hand them over to you personally when the time was right. He took out a small envelope from his pocket and placed it on the table. These are the documents. The property and shares are already transferred in your name. Your father has no legal claim over them. I stared at the envelope, trying to process everything. Mr. Harrington looked toward my father, who was watching us from a distance with a tense expression. Your father and stepmother have been trying to challenge the will for the past year, he said. They even hired lawyers to find loopholes. When they couldn't break the will legally, they decided to manipulate you emotionally instead. That's why they suddenly became interested in you again. Everything started making sense now. Mr. Harrington looked at me seriously. Sophia, your grandfather wanted you to have a choice. He didn't want you to be controlled by your family. These assets are yours. What you do with them is entirely up to you. I picked up the envelope with slightly shaking hands. Thank you, I said quietly, for keeping your promise to my grandfather. Mr. Harrington gave me a small smile. He was a good man. He loved you very much. He just wanted to make sure you were protected. He stood up and adjusted his suit.
I won't stay long. I've done what I came here to do. But remember one thing. People will try to control you as long as they think they can. The moment you take control of your own life, they will either respect you or hate you for it. He gave me a respectful nod and walked away. I sat there alone for a few minutes, holding the envelope. Then I stood up and walked back toward my family. My father, mother, and brother were standing together, looking extremely tense. The moment they saw me approaching, my father stepped forward. "Sophia," he said in a low voice, "what did he say to you? What was in that envelope?" I looked at him, then at my mother and brother. "He gave me the remaining part of Grandpa's inheritance," I said clearly. "The part that was never mentioned in the original will. It's already transferred in my name." My mother's face turned pale. My brother's mouth opened slightly. My father's jaw tightened. "You're lying," he said. I took out the documents from the envelope and showed them the first page. "See for yourself." My father quickly took the papers and started reading. As he went through them, his face lost all color. He looked up at me with a mixture of anger and disbelief. This can't be right," he muttered. "It is," I said, "and it's all legally mine. You can't touch any of it." My mother stepped forward, her voice shaking. "Sophia, we're your family. You can't just keep everything to yourself. We have rights too." I looked at her and replied calmly, "You had rights when you treated me like family, but you chose to hide me, control me, and use me for years. Now you have no rights over anything that belongs to me." My brother tried to speak, but I cut him off. "I'm done," I said. "I'm done being the daughter you only remember when you need something. From today, I'm living my life on my own terms." I turned around and started walking toward the exit. My father called out from behind, his voice filled with anger. "Sophia, if you walk out of here right now, don't ever come back." I stopped for a second, then continued walking without looking back. As I stepped out of the house and into the cool night air, I felt lighter than I had in years. They had spent so long trying to hide me and control me, but in the end, they were the ones left standing in the dark, watching me walk away with everything they had tried so hard to take. Is there anyone in your life that you wish you could get revenge on? Tell me in the comments who that person is and what they did. I'd really like to know your story. And please don't forget to like and subscribe so I can continue bringing you these stories. Your support helps me keep creating and sharing new content for you.